What we saying, people? Welcome back. We are back again for another show, talking all things transfers. Going to touch on that England game, of course, and see what all of our clubs are up to. Arsenal are dominating for the right or maybe wrong reasons in parts. I think there's probably a mixed bag, as we saw last night. If you haven't checked it out already, myself, Kenny Ken, and Dan Lawless were on last night talking about Declan Rice and all things Arsenal. Big up the chat. Make sure you smash a like. Make sure you subscribe. I'm literally 40 away from 9K, people. So come on, let's sort that out tonight, please. I'm sure we can get that out, man. Come on, let's sort it out. Big up Mark in the chat. It says big up Potts. Big up Mr. President of NUFC, Pete. Let's start with you. Congrats, my friend.
Thank you, guys. Thank you. I don't know about president, but yeah, it's been a good week. I've got to be honest. Being part of the Newcastle Supporters Trust board, being elected in, it's a nice moment, and the club's going in a new era. So it's nice to be able to be part of the trust that's hopefully going in a new era alongside it. So let's see. Not started yet, but when we do, I'm sure it'll be lots of fun.
Absolutely, man. Joe, big up yourself, my friend. Congrats, man, on the walk-in. Your feet look like they definitely felt it, my friend. How are you feeling now, man?
I'm better, man. My feet look like something out of Lord of the Rings, let's be honest. They were bad.
All for a good cause, though, man. All for a good cause, man.
It was.
Done.
I think we're over 70K now, man. So, listen, I'm a big Harry Potter fan as well, and Matt Lewis, who plays Neville Longbottom, is a Leeds fan, and him and his brother who's on Emmerdale, they did it. So
Neville doesn't get any luck ever, does he? Doesn't get any luck ever.
I know, right? Yeah, honestly, I was there, right, and we were chatting about Leeds. Obviously, he lives in the States and whatnot. So we were chatting, and then I went, Matt, I've got something to tell you. And he was like, what? I says, I've got Harry Potter tattoo. I need to get it out there just before you see it. Do you know what I mean? Because it's on my arm. So I was like, I'll get that.
Oh, thank goodness for that.
Do you know what?
I wondered where we were going with that.
Yeah, so did I.
Imagine in the States. Oh, I've had a horrible couple of weeks. Leeds have been relegated, and then some bloke got his.
But obviously, I've got daughters as well, and they're big on Harry Potter. So he did me a lovely little video message for them saying like, "Your dad, you should be proud of your dad," and that. So it was really nice. Yeah,
that's
top
class, man.
Okay.
Well done, man, and that's amazing for what you've done. So great cause as well, man. Dan, you're next on the list, bro. How are you feeling now, man? COVID. Wow, I mean, that was serious. You're literally for the last show. Lawless couldn't wait to get stuck into you, and you got away with it, mate. How are you feeling?
I've been visiting loads of COVID hotspots. I thought I can't face Lawless, so I was just getting all these just cough. Just do anything you can. Give me a toothbrush, anything. No, I'm feeling a lot better now, mate. Like we said off camera, the beauty of it is I've lost half a stone, so I feel alive. I feel amazing. So yeah, it's good. It's good to be back. I did watch the show, and I'm like, honestly. Lawless, the gift that keeps on giving, and just to think we're this close to getting rid of him, but never mind. He got there in the end, and fair play to him. Fair play.
No, big up to him, man. He said he was going to do it, and they did it. Mark, you do need to go to Specsavers, mate. The wonderful and handsome Dave. I mean, wow. I've heard you've been called a lot of things, Dave. Wonderful and handsome. Are they two words that a lot of people state for Dave Asprey? I mean.
Not really, Dan. No, they're not words that are usually mentioned in the same sort of sentence as my name. All I would say is that Mark needs to get his focal point sorted, because at the moment I reckon my face looks like Joe Wayman's feet did after that.
I want to know why Mark hasn't said hello to me. Like, what's
I was just noticing.
I was wondering.
Maybe he's seen your feet.
or maybe he hates Neville Longbottom and he thought that.
Yeah. Yeah, maybe he's a Game of Thrones man rather than Harry Potter, something like that.
He's a member, so I don't want to be too much bad, but have that, Mark.
Listen, it's a pleasure to have you all with me, and that goes for you guys in the chat as well. I might as well touch on England game quick. I don't really like talk about internationals. I feel like they're sick of the sight of each other, to be honest. But I did watch the game, and the talking points were Malta are still poor. And the other talking points are Trent Alexander-Arnold in midfield. I like it, and I know it's only against Malta. Mark Guehi, the £80 million centre-half, future England captain, according to D. Our
Worth more than that.
he must be now. I mean, he's in the England side. It must be gone up to 120, Pete. Do you know what I mean? I look at it and think there was a couple of performances there. Trent Alexander-Arnold in midfield. Joe, let's start with you, man. I'm not a fan of Gareth Southgate, I can't lie, but he's given some people a chance over the last few tournaments. But he does have his favourites, and we saw that again tonight. But Trent in midfield, I like it for Liverpool, and I liked it tonight. We've spoken many a time on here, Pete, myself, Dan, with Errol talking about how he just can't defend, but going forward, he's great, and actually on the ball, he's a ridiculously good footballer. I can see this working, Joe, if I'm honest. What do you think, bro?
Yeah, no, I like it. It's quite interesting, actually. I was just on Twitter beforehand, and I forget the journo's name, but it's like his shot selection. It's like a golfer. He made that comparison. He can literally do everything. Do you know what I mean? The pitch wedge, the sand wedge, the 9, whatever you like, man. He's got it all in his locker. Yeah, he's class. And just on Gareth as well, mate. I'm a big advocate of his, not because of the style of play. I just think we need to remember that this guy's been the most successful English manager we've had since forever. You know what I mean? We're actually competitive in tournaments now. I get he's got his favourites, but I didn't want him to go. I don't know if it's because of my age or whatever that I've not seen anything, even a small amount of England when we had the golden generation, all them ballers, Lampard, Gerrard, Scholes, Beckham, all these top players, and just never did anything, you know, never looked like doing anything. And look, Bellingham as well, like he's going to come through, just moved to Madrid, 19-year-old, taking on Zidane's shirt, like nothing phases that kid. So for me, with or without Gareth, I think with Bellingham carrying the rest of them on his back, I think a national tournament is going to come soon, Dan. I believe that it's about experience, right? Look at Arsenal. It was always going to be difficult for Arsenal to go from just missing out on top 4 to then getting the title. But what you've gained this year in terms of experience, I hate to bring it to Championship, but I remember one season, but when Brentford were chasing us, and I used to have this debate with people in the Championship, experience is undervalued, I think, in football, and people are saying, oh, Brentford are going to get top 2. I said, this is a team that's never been in the top 6. They're not suddenly going to make that leap to winning the title. It just doesn't happen, and I suppose you can make that link with Arsenal. I guess my point is, like, all these losses that we've had under Gareth, it's all building towards something, the next Euros, the next World Cup, with the players like Bellingham and stuff, and maybe even playing Trent in midfield more often than not. That, you know, success is on the horizon. I do believe that, and I want to see England win something during my lifetime. It'd be amazing, man. Imagine the streets. Imagine the streets.
Streets wouldn't be ready, man. Streets would not be ready. Big up, Mark, and big up for the super chat, man. You don't need to do that, but thank you so much. Says Joe, I was saving the super chat to say you're a legend. I saw all the pictures from the walk. Your kids should be proud. The legend.
Yeah.
P.S.
Nice one,
Pete, all this nice stuff to the side, you will still play anti-football. He really has got it against his Peter. He has got it against.
We love you too, Mark. We love you too.
Legend, Mark, legend. Listen, let's come to you, Pete, because I actually disagree with Joe. And the reason I disagree is because I do think that as much as Gareth has done a good job, I think with a better manager, England would have won at least 2 of the last 3 tournaments. I really believe that. I just feel that when we've gone 1 up against Croatia, we sat back. We got back to 1-1. They beat us. We went 1-0 up against Italy. We sat back. France, you could probably say, was a little bit more unlucky because Kane obviously missed the penalty. But tactically, I think he got it completely wrong. Jack Grealish is sitting there with 90 seconds to go thinking, just don't bother bringing me on, bruv. Just please don't. Oh, you're going to anyway. Okay. Take Sakharov, who, not being biased, was clearly the best player on the pitch.
Yeah, fair.
There's been too much for me now in 3 tournaments that I've seen to think, is this guy going to take us across the line? But Pete, feel free to disagree or agree, mate. Have your say, man.
No, I have to agree with the last couple of tournaments. We should have done more. In particular, the the final of the Euros, we take the lead at Wembley. You've got to win it. You've got to win it. When you're in that position, you can't let that slip. And we did exactly what we did against Croatia. We sat back, exactly what you just said, Potts, and we allowed the team to eventually break us down. It just seems to be built in our DNA, whoever's on the pitch. And Joe's right, we have to break that mold at some point. And I do believe we've got a group of players now, and even some of them that are coming through that should be challenging and winning a major trophy for England. The only thing I kind of disagree with Joe on is that with opportunities to win tournaments, I remember 2004. If Rooney doesn't break his foot, against Portugal, we win the tournament. We were the.
When do we get knocked out though? Quarter final.
Yeah, quarter final twice in a row against Portugal, wasn't it?
Yeah,
I get what you're saying, Pete. If Rooney don't get injured, he was amazing that tournament. I get it, but it was still the quarter final. You know what I mean?
No, it's right. But like that 2004, we were the best team in that tournament. There's no doubt about it. We were steamrolling teams, and even up until Rooney got injured, we were hammering Portugal. I genuinely believe that you could see. I mean, it was a long time ago, but I remember you could look at the players when Rooney got injured. The rest of the players knew that they'd lost a huge chunk of that team because he was just on absolute smoke at that time.
See, for me, 96, I had more belief, and I was young.
My God.
96, definitely again Wembley. But
98 as well, you'd say.
Germans were always strong at that point.
98 as well, though, Pete. 98, we scored a legitimate goal that was ruled out against Argentina down to 10 men. You know, if that gets given, we could have potentially done something.
Do you know what,
For me,
right?
it's the Gaza moment for me. In 96, it's the Gaza moment that I'll never forget. How has he done that? Like,
you're saying all this, right? But I swear, up until Southgate, we'd only ever won 15 knockout games in our history, right? I believe that guy's won 15 already. Something along them lines. So it's like, so maybe I'm fact-check me, but it's something like that in competitive tournaments. I hear what you're saying, but it is what it is.
One thing I'll agree with you on is that it's funny, really, because we've had managers over the years that have been by far superior tactically. As managers been on a different level to Gareth Southgate, but got us nowhere. But Gareth Southgate has brought together a nation, really. He's made people want to watch England again and invest in the country again. Not everyone does, but a hell of a lot in the last 4 years have invested a lot more time in England than they did previously. And Gareth Southgate has to take a little bit of credit for that because he brought them together. He might not be tactically astute or technically a very good manager, for what some people think, but he's brought us together in a different way. And
I'll tell you what he does do as well. I'll tell you what he does do well, and Dan, I'll come to you with this. He handles the media the best I've seen. Like his handling of press conferences, the media is so impressive. But I ask you this, Dan, right? Like, people say to me, well, who do you want managing? It's very, very hard to ask who I do want and who would actually come. Because some would say that the England job years ago used to be the absolute one you wanted. Now, I'd argue that the club's probably where people want to be. For example, would Eddie Howe leave Newcastle to go to England? I don't think he would.
Not yet.
So I don't even know if he would even. I'm not sure he would. I think he's quite happy where he is. I mean, I'm just thinking if Gareth Southgate then who?
The thing is with most international managers, okay, it's very rare you get a young manager, isn't it? They are normally managers that have managed at club level. Then it's sort of a journey, isn't it? You know, and you'll see the likes of Mourinho, I think, go on to now do club management. Maybe not his next job, maybe the job after that. Pep, I still think he'll end up doing international management. It's a tough one with Gareth because he is media savvy, and you have to say that about him. But the guy's been, you know, he should be media savvy after the 96 semi-final against Germany, semi-final against Germany when he missed the penalty. I think the guy had the best media training in the land. So I think I agree. I agree with both points here. I agree with both sides of the argument because for me, when you look at what he's done with the squads that we had at first, the 2018 World Cup, we didn't have the players available to us that we do now. There was a Phil Jones in the squad. Ashley Young was at left back. There was a lot of sort of square pegs in round holes getting into that squad. Jesse Lingard, the forgotten man, was in that tournament. He's done well, and I think the thing that I will say that bodes well for England that's different from when Sven was there, when what was his name? Capello was there. The last sort of 6 years, England seem to have a conveyor belt of talent, and it's gone are the days where we relied on a Michael Owen coming through, we relied on a Wayne Rooney coming through. That's changed. We have got this conveyor belt now of these world-class young players coming in. So it's a tough one. For me, I was very disappointed with Southgate in the World Cup. I think he should have just gone for it. I think he was a bit too, and we've seen that in the last couple of tournaments, a bit too defensive. But the problem I will say about Southgate that is different to these managers is he's not got that winner's mentality. He's not won anything as a manager. He's not achieved success as a manager, really. So I feel like there's that naivety. We talked about Arteta this season. Does he have the experience to take Arsenal to the top and keep them at the top? Was it perhaps a naivety? And I think that's what we see with Gareth Southgate. I personally think it will be Gareth Southgate that decides when he leaves England. I don't think they'll sack him. I think he's the golden child for them. I think they adore him. I think the FA are behind him. The players love him. So I honestly don't see, unless it's an absolute catastrophe and we go out in the group stages of the Euros, I see him staying for a while yet.
Fair enough, man. Dave, listen, I think Dan made a great point there. When we had the golden generation 2002, 2004, you could name the team, with Seaman, Neville, Cole, Campbell, Terry, Rio, Scholes, Gerrard, Lampard. It just went on. Joe Coles, David Beckham, Owen, Rooney, Shearer. Unbelievable. But actually, when you look now, Dan's right. We've actually got a hell of a lot of strength and depth. And I would argue in terms of the squad, it's probably the best it's been in a very, very long time and very, very healthy. So that's why the pressure, I think, is on Gareth now, Dave.
Yeah, well, I'm different to you for England have won a tournament in my lifetime, although I was like 2, so I don't really remember it very much. And actually, England came close in 1970 because that England team in 1970, I actually personally think is the best England team there's ever been. If they could have got past Germany in the quarterfinal, they'd have probably met the Brazilians in the final, and they would have given the Brazilians a better game than Italy. But coming back to Gareth Southgate, I'm slightly conflicted about Gareth. I'm a little bit like Dan, really. I think a lot of football fans, the tribal ones, the ones who just see things, they can't see farther than the end of their nose. They don't get him. I get him. I'm a nerdy, bookish, university-educated, sort of, fairly mundane, bland guy, and I get Gareth. I like him. I think he's a fantastic ambassador for our country. He speaks well. We've just seen, without getting political, we've seen a guy get to the top of the tree through lying, and he's an embarrassment to our country. Now, Gareth Southgate, I think, when I see Gareth Southgate, I think his composure, his decency, as Pete says, and as Dan said, and as Joe's alluded to, his savvy nature with the media, I think is fantastic. And what he's done, a martinet like Capello, who I think ruined the golden generation. He took the tarnish off them. They were a golden generation who didn't like him, who didn't really want to play for England, right? These lads want to play for Gareth Southgate because they like him. If these lads have a bad moment, then go and talk to him. He's on a level. Unlike Roy, when we got beat by Iceland in 2016, which to me is the worst result England have ever had, and an absolute national disgrace. And I like Roy as a decent man, but he couldn't understand guys younger than himself. It's a bit like me here on this show. Sometimes I don't understand what you lads are talking about because you're much younger than me. But I just think with Gareth, I really like him. I'd love to sit and talk with him. I think he's a really nice guy, decent guy. But the vast majority of the football fans don't like that. They want somebody who's effing and blinding, and a lot of them would probably want somebody like Mourinho, who's like inciting people to attack Anthony Taylor in an airport. Which Mourinho's the lowest of the low for me. I like Southgate. Yeah. Where I'm conflicted about Gareth, and I love the fact that I saw a picture of Eberechi Eze at St George's Park, which is actually not far from where I am. and he was wearing his England top and he was being photographed. And the pride this lad was exuding was fantastic to see. And they get on really well. They're a good bunch of lads who enjoy each other's company. And that's why I do think that I'm a little bit with Joe that they could go and win something. I think, but I come back to the point that 2018, I think, was an overachievement with the squad he had to get to semi-final, right?
Yeah, I agree.
And I think that last year was they were just unfortunate to come up against that lot in a fantastic match, and they missed a penalty. I thought they were brilliant. The final, though, irritated the hell out of me, and I would have said to Gareth, mate, you had it in the palm of your hand. Why did you let it slip away like that bar of soap? You know what I mean? They score early. They got not only the lunatics in the stadium with them, they got the whole country with them, and then it just dissipated. And they allowed the two guys at the back for Italy. I think it was Chiellini, and I can't remember the other guy's name. Bonucci. Gareth allowed those two to invade our country and take it over. And I was really not angry, but just like, oh mate, what you let it go.
So I hate Bonucci, I never forget when he said, "It's coming, Rome." I was like,
yeah. And what England did that night, I wish they'd been a little bit more like, if you like the England cricket team, they played Australia today. They aren't bothered about Australia's reputation. Screw it. Let's score 393 in a day and attack. They hit the first ball for 4, the England cricket lads did. The Australian captain comes bowling in, Zach Crawley goes, piss off, and it's in for 4, right? And I just wanted England to do that night. So I have a lot of respect for Gareth Southgate. As a human being, he's absolute dynamite. As a football manager, he'll never manage a club side again.
No.
And I think he's perfect for this at the moment. I mean, if you think about it, is he not the longest serving interim manager England have ever had? Because it's felt like interim. I personally think Eddie Howe should get it. But Eddie Howe's not going to leave Newcastle. Graham Potter. If somebody say to me, Steve Cooper's name was mentioned, he'll wait for Wales down the line, Steve will.
You might have to wait long after tonight. 4-2, they lost against Armenia.
So to answer your question, Dan, having rambled on, there's a lot I like about Gareth Southgate, but I wouldn't say it's not 100% across the board. So I'm kind of conflicted, mate.
Can I just quickly? Go on, John. Sorry, no, because I see disrespect for this. This is why I get right tribalism with him, because for me as an England fan, it's been rubbish, and he's actually made me feel pride again for the country.
Me too, Joe.
And I spoke about that golden generation, and I couldn't stand any of them. Didn't like any of them.
Me neither.
Only like the ones that played for your football club, for example. Yeah. But when I see this current crop, I like them all. I even, as a Leeds United fan, when Harry Maguire puts on the England shirt, I back him. And the reason I back him is because he's not put a foot wrong for England. And I'll say that, and people say, he picks Maguire. Yeah, but tell me what he's done wrong at England and we'll chat. Okay, in the Germany game, but I think it was a friendly or whatever, Nations League, whatever. But in tournaments, he's been bob on. From corners, I always back him to score for England. I always think he's going to back. This is going in the back of the net. And just on, I said earlier about 15 victories. I had to fact check myself because I knew it was wrong. England have had 15 tournament knockout wins. 6 of them belong to Southgate, which tells you, for those that are saying, is this, is that, that's almost half of knockout victories. Other England managers and names that have been mentioned have had better CVs and not done what he's been able to do. And that's why, for me, I like the guy and I want him to win as a tournament.
You're right. You're right with Harry Maguire and Pickford being picked. Everyone's like, what? None of them have done anything wrong to allow Southgate not to pick them. We all know that Ramsdale's better than Pickford and that there's a better centre-half than Harry Maguire. You can probably argue a couple more positions-wise. Henderson in there now still. All that, we get that. But you're right, Joe. These players haven't let Southgate down. Now, there's a couple of mistakes that Harry Maguire's made. Someone's brought up in the chat, not marking Giroud, etc. We can talk about that. But for me, I think you're right in what you're saying, man. Go on, Dave.
Dan, people seem to define a person's life and career by the one mistake and often ignore the 10, 15, 20 good things that a human being does. And I look around and I read stuff about Gareth Southgate, and they just don't get it because they're all tribal. Like, I think my team should win because I love them and all this kind of stuff. And it's like, no, if they met Gareth Southgate, I'm sure they would find him a really nice guy and interesting to talk to.
I just think. Go on, sorry, Dave.
No, I just think he's misunderstood. They don't get the smart suits. They don't get the calm, composed nature. They don't get the decency of the man. I'm sure they want somebody who's effing and blinding and throwing the toys out of the pram. Do you know what I mean? All the time. And I'm fascinated to know why there's this vitriol against him. And Joe's dead right. If Alf was here, and Alf's the greatest because Alf got us to the top of the mountain, nobody else has. Not even Sir Bobby got us as far as Gareth has. Not even Terry Venables. They're the two other good ones for me. Sven for a while. But Gareth is... I in my lifetime, before Gareth Southgate, thought to myself, I'll never see our lot in a semi-final or a final. 2 semis. A semi, a quarter, and a final. I never thought I'd see that. Do you know what I mean? So while I'm saying the final irritated me, there are reasons for us to think, why is everybody attacking this guy? If they were attacking this guy, they'd want Capello lynched. They'd want Sven lynched. And I just, but I get that. Oh, you're too soft-hearted and too nice and all this kind of stuff.
But not being funny though, but Sven-Göran Eriksson. I think we can all agree here. Sven peaked when we beat England. When we beat Germany 5-1. That was Sven's defining moment, and then he stole a living with us 5 years later, didn't he? Because he had the world in his hands with the players that were playing for him at the ages they were, and he just didn't know what to do with them.
If you was to pick a Premier League 11, you'd probably pick most of them.
100%.
It is mad. It's
at the time,
mad. At the time, it's incredible. But
I tell you what, I'll tell you something else about Southgate. Sorry, just before we move on, lads. I do think with a lot of people, in the olden days, so like under the likes of Revy and people like that, sorry to mention Revy, Joe, and other England managers we've had.
His English tenure, it didn't go down well, did it? Let's be honest.
But the thing is, you often used to see people playing for their clubs. I mean, for me, John Barnes is a classic example. Brilliant, week in, week out for Liverpool. And then you wanted him to do it for England, and he kind of never did. Whereas I think now these lads are playing well for their clubs, and then like Trent tonight, they're going and replicating their club form for their country, which wasn't always the case. So I think while Gareth's not the complete article, he's got a hell of a lot that we should be grateful to him for. Do you know what I mean? But
that's fair,
I guess that won't go down well, you know what I mean?
Andy Cole, listen, his opinions, man. Andy Cole and Ian Wright, two of the best I've seen. They couldn't do it in an England shirt, Even Robbie Fowler wasn't sensational, was he?
Some of them, chance, though,
quite a few.
Weren't really given a chance.
Well, I don't think they're going to be given a chance in front of Shearer and Sheringham at the time. That's the thing. So,
we're obviously coming through and just blitzing it,
absolutely.
Wasn't it?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. Listen, let's move. I wanted to touch on England, but you know what we're like. It's been half hour and we're still going on about it.
You've got me on the show. That's the problem.
That's it. Get Dave on. We'll be here for an hour. Listen, let's go back the other way. Dan, I'm going to start with you. I'm not going to give you a question because there's so much that's happened in relation to this. So I want to ask you what's going on with Arsenal in this transfer window, because it seems to me that they've got money to spend. And it's hard sometimes for me to hear Arsenal fans and converse with them. So I want to go to different people, which is why I invited you guys on tonight. Declan Rice, Kai Havertz, Caicedo missing out on, Lavia now, Diaby we're in the race for and leading. I'm exhausted, man, and it's day 3. Help me out.
Welcome to the world of a Man United fan, mate. We get linked with everyone, and then by the end of it, we'll end up with Jordan Henderson. Do you know what I mean? It's the way it is, mate. Look, in this league, you've got to have the right people behind the scenes that will go out there and get the job done. And you see that with City. You've seen it with Newcastle, actually, more recently. You've seen it with Chelsea back in the Abramovich days. You need that team. But David Gill at United back then, you have to have the complete package behind the scenes. And we said this a few weeks ago on this show. You can have a fantastic first 11. You can have a great manager. But more and more now, as the modern game is evolving, you need that team behind the scenes. Brighton, for Christ's sake. And I think with regards to Rice, I'm still not convinced. I don't know. I think you're going to have to really, really spend for Rice. And we all know if City come in with that bid with Calvin Phillips or something like that, we know what's going to happen there. And then the problem goes there for you, Dan. You've gone from wanting Rice and Caicedo. Now, obviously, Lavia's there. I can see you ending up with someone like Ward-Prowse, mate. I honestly can. Because the problem is, the window's been open 3 days. At least you've got a plan. We haven't got anything at the moment, which we'll come on to in a bit, I'm sure. United, we don't know who's going to be. We've got 10 quid to spend. Do you know what I mean? We got a tenner. We're skipping round. You need to have the right team behind the scenes to go out there and do it. And the other side of it as well is in the last few transfer windows, because you've not been at the top of the tree, you've been able to go about your business, get who you want. Now you're being looked at as they finished second last season, Champions League football. They're going to be attacking it again this season. The players you ultimately want, there is a bigger pool open now for players that want those players. It's a tough one, mate. It's tough. It's really tough. Havertz, by the way, I don't understand that one at all. I can't get my head around that. I cannot. I just don't understand it.
No, neither do I. Joe, talk to me. Rice, you've said you thought he'd be an Arsenal player. Looks like we're divvying around again. Just go and pay the bloody money, man. If that's who we want, what are we trying to save £10 for? Just go and get the guy, man. Then you've got Havertz, who's apparently 60 million. That's a hell of a lot of money in my eyes. I don't know where he fits into Arsenal still. I don't even know what position he is. Caicedo, we've missed out on. You know, there's a guy in the chat who's saying that what happens if we miss out on Rice and Caicedo? Heads need to roll.
I don't think.
I don't know. I just if we miss out on both Rice and Caicedo, that is a bad window when we've been linked with the pair of them the whole time, surely. So what do you think of it, Joe?
Yeah, first and foremost, I remember being on here a couple of weeks back, some Arsenal fan giving me jip in the chat for saying that you wouldn't get both. Where are you now, brother? Because I told you wouldn't get both.
Yeah, you did.
But, no, I did. I remember. I always make mental notes, man. We've got the receipts. No, but mate, you will get Declan Rice. Like I won't sweat on that too much. I don't think there's anyone challenging for him, really, is there? The only, I guess, opposition you could see was maybe Man City, but Calvin's going nowhere. So I think, I think you will get Rice. The Caicedo thing, I always was dubious that you would go out and spend that much money on both of them two players.
Are you surprised that we're going in for Havertz then, Joe, for that much money?
I don't understand it. I don't understand. Shy Havertz, isn't it? He's like, I don't know what he, like you said, I don't know what he is, what he does. Like, I was shocked that Real Madrid were linked. I don't know what these managers are seeing, but they obviously see something. And the one thing that worries me a little bit for Arsenal, Dan, it's... So, say, for example, City get Kovacic, right? Kovacic, for me, is a baller anyway. But I think about Pep and Kovacic, and I just think, you watch Kovacic just reach a whole new level next season. But on the flip side, I see Havertz to Arsenal, I go, I don't see that's going to end well. I don't know. It just doesn't seem the right fit. And the Jorginho
come out
thing
today, we wanted
really
Mount, but then Mount wants Man United, so now we're going for Havertz. It's like, how about just don't go for either and get Caicedo? If we've got that much money anyway, then just go and put that towards Caicedo. If it's 60 million, apparently they want 70 or 80 million, apparently. Which, again, this window is mad, by the way, but I'm fed up talking
What did
about
Chelsea pay for him?
I think it was about 70 something. It was supposed to be rising to like 80, but it was never going to because he was terrible. So he was never going to get that far with it.
They
but
shouldn't be getting their money back on
lot,
him, man. I think Arsenal, if they are going to buy him, they should be digging their heels in.
And why are we helping Chelsea out? Why is everyone... Can I ask this seriously? This club has put themselves in this mess. And Manchester United and Arsenal have gone, we'll help you. We'll give you 70 for Mount and 60 for... Leave them. Let them crack on. I don't care about Chelsea. Why are we trying to buy their players? No one did that with us when Ozil was tearing up the place and we had crap like Kolasinac and Mustafi and Bellerin and all these crap players that we had. No one went, oh, go on, we'll take them all off you and give you 50. Now we're all lining up to help these bloody team out. I can't stand them, man. I'm done with it. How are they getting 70 million for Kai Havertz and about 60 million for Mount? How is that right? It's crazy, man. So I'm not happy with that one. I don't get it. Pete,
Do you move Fabio Vieira on, bro? If that deal goes
where does
through,
he fit in? I mean, I've got two questions. Where does Kai Havertz fit in? Is my number one. I don't know where Kai Havertz fits in, and where's number two? Where is Fabio Vieira fitting in with it? So I don't think he's good enough anyway.
No,
in my opinion. Where's Smith?
You paid money for him, right? How much did you pay for him, Dad?
35 million. He was.
It's a lot of money,
Waste
really.
of money,
Especially when you think that McAllister's gone to Liverpool for what he went for. You know what I mean? And
that just infuriates me. That signing.
Yeah,
what's
a signing?
How have they got him for that cheap? It's unreal.
Yeah, Liverpool, Liverpool always do this. We get stung. Liverpool always get it spot on, man. And they've done it again. And I mean, Vieira's got to go as far as I'm concerned, Joe. He ain't good enough, and I don't think he will be. But this Havertz one has really confused me. Pete, what's your thoughts, bro?
Look at him.
My
sat there slug.
No. I've had my thoughts on Havertz for a couple of years now. Havertz, I think, is a talented player. I just think this league's not suited. I think he's very much suited to the German league. You get some players that just don't suit English football, and he's very much one of them. I can see him going back to Germany, and whoever he goes to absolutely lighted it up, because it's the same with Timo Werner. Timo Werner was just not suited to English football. And I think that little spell at Chelsea has ruined him. I think to a point it's ruined Havertz, but he's still young enough to be able to turn it around. But I think he just needs to leave. And I'm with you, Dan. I don't get this this Arsenal Chelsea obsession with selling to each other with all sorts of players going between you two clubs. Like, it's always the shit that go to either one of the teams. Like, he's never really the top level player. He's always the guy.
Ashley Cole's the only one, mate. Ashley Cole's the only one. Is it?
Maybe William Gallas, another one back in the day, decent player. But again, you're clutching at straws, and you're having to go back 15 odd years to look at a player that was actually decent, that moved between you guys. And you would have thought by now that Arsenal or Chelsea would have learned from their mistakes, but they don't. I think if you pay anything over 50 million for Havertz, then Chelsea have had the pants down. That's my opinion. But Chelsea are very, very good sellers. They've been doing it for years. They always make good money on the players that they get rid of, regardless of who they go to. And they'll be doing exactly the same again. It's a real strange one, I have to say. But going on to the Declan Rice thing, when you're looking at buying good players, it doesn't come quickly and it doesn't come easy. So for a lot of Arsenal fans, I think we're expecting, the window's been open now a few days, or the season's been finished a few weeks. This deal will get thrashed out and it'll get done by July the 1st. Big deals don't get done quickly. I'm of the opinion that we could still be here mid-July and still having this conversation about Declan Rice, because West Ham, he is their star athlete. West Ham are not half the team without him, and that's just the reality of it. And they know he's going to be their biggest selling asset that they've ever had at this club, and so they need to make as much money as they possibly can. We've seen when Gareth Bale went from Tottenham to Real Madrid, Tottenham had all this money and did nothing with it. And I think West Ham are a little bit worried that that's going to be the same, because what West Ham know is that if whatever they sell Declan Rice for, is that whoever comes in, they're going to have to overpay, because every club's going to go out there and go, you've got the Rice money, bang, we want this, and it's going to be 10 million, 15, 20 above market value for that player. And I genuinely think West Ham are trying to play it as cool as possible, and it wouldn't surprise me if it's a late deal and West Ham have done all their business first and then they agree to sell it. So if people are thinking this is going to be a quick deal, I personally believe it will be. But Arsenal have gone way up, because if they wait too long, their first targets in other positions may well go to clubs. And
absolutely,
this is the thing. There's talk about Diaby and Arsenal being in front of the queue. We're not part of that anymore. I don't think we've inquired about him since last summer. I don't think that's the direction we're going in personally. However, PSG will bring an interest, and he's already talked about wanting to go back to his.
I think that's where we'll go, if I'm honest.
And all it takes is for PSG to go, yeah, we'll take you, and he'll go, yeah, I'll go there. And this is the point I'm making: is if Arsenal spend too long focused on Rice and not on other business that they need to do, they could well lose out on their first time.
Pete, you're talking absolute facts, mate. Absolute facts, Pete. I can't even lie. Like, we're divvying daddy in here. Just go and get this guy. And I mean, what I will say this, I don't know if you agree with this, Dave. Like, I totally agree with all of the stuff that is happening with the Rice. It's frustrating as hell. But one thing I did take kind of exception to, and I don't know if you agree with this or anyone agrees with this. For West Ham to say Arsenal's bid for Rice was embarrassing was a bit extreme for me, because I don't know that this market. I don't know what's happened to this market, but for someone who's finally won a Conference Cup, who's now worth 120 million, for me is insane. But everyone else thinks this is just the way it is. So is bidding the first bid of between 80 and 90 million, is that embarrassing? I would say that it's not enough. I wouldn't say it's an absolute insult like they've made out. This is Declan Rice, not Messi, right? Or is it Mbappe? I don't know. I'm trying to work out in my mind that apparently Caicedo's worth 100 million, Bellingham's worth 120, Declan Rice is now worth 120. So you basically need 400 million to get 3 players that haven't won anything in their time now. So what if we sold Saka, is he going for 250, 300? If Mbappe be sold, is he going for 400?
Dan.
I don't get this. Like, I really don't understand where all these prices have just shot up from. And Lewis made a great point the other day with me from City Extra. The talent ain't there anymore. There's a real lack of talent out there at the moment, and that's why
lack of available
flying up. Mount, 70, Havertz 80, please. People are just picking this out of the sky. It's
can I just say really quickly? I'll be honest with you. I actually would. I don't want you or whoever to pay 100 million for Declan Rice. I genuinely don't want you to do that, because I genuinely believe that if that deal goes through, our English window of players for the next few years is going to be absolutely screwed up off the back of that. Because every young English player, or every player that's had a couple of decent seasons, and Rice has been better for a couple of seasons, but any player that has a couple of decent seasons, like Caicedo, for example, come in, had a good season or so, and now worth 80 million.
Cucurella.
You know what happened with the Neymar deal? The Neymar deal screwed the transfer market up. Mbappe then went and did the same a year later. Like, it messed everything up, so the values went crazy.
Yeah,
they're just about to stop. They're just starting to come down and become more realistic. And a deal like this could completely throw the market out for everybody.
We're not,
because if that happens, and you're right, it's not worth 100 million, 120 million. For me, is no more. Right, and this is just my opinion. For the talent he is, and I really think he's a top talent, but I don't think he's anything worth more than 60 million max.
Oh, that's wild, Pete. That's wild, Pete.
I'm going. I don't think.
Pete, do you know something, mate? I'm telling you now. I don't think he's worth more than 60 million. I'm telling you now, mate. If Declan Rice goes for less than what we signed fucking Harry Maguire for, mate, I'm done.
Yeah. And what you've done, Dan, is prove my point about
I agree.
The transfer market is. So I get what you're saying, Joe. I'm saying, you don't agree with it, because in your mind you're looking at other players, just like Dan's gone, oh, well, they've played such and such for that player, or such and such for that player. But that's why the market is so screwed up.
No, but for me, I think we're in danger of
in a bracket.
I think we're in danger of being disrespectful towards Declan Rice here. The kid's
a quality player.
The kid's unbelievable, and if Arsenal sign him, he could literally sit in their midfield for the next 10 years.
Agree with that,
100%. You know, and he is that player. I think he's that good. And it's what's he worth to West Ham? What's he worth to West Ham? I get what you're saying in a roundabout way. To be honest, I genuinely thought Bellingham would be the player that would smash that £150 million mark, but obviously he went for 150. Was it 115 in the end? Probably with add-ons or something. But I think
it's all my fault.
No,
it's all my fault.
I was.
We were the first ones. Yeah, go on, Joe. Sorry.
No,
Yeah,
I was watching a show. Are you ready? Yep.
Yeah. Sorry, mate. Go on. Go on, Joe. Go on.
No, I was going to say, like, I was watching a show the other day by an Arsenal fan, and he's going, you know, like, kicking off, saying, oh, this is giving me, you know, shades of the Suarez deal where we put 50 and a pound or whatever it was. And I was going, relax, man. Like, for me, this is all posturing from both football clubs. Yeah. You think when you buy a player, the first bid gets accepted straight out the bat? No, never. These are businessmen, so they'll go, you're taking the piss. And then they'll go, how much do you want? Oh, we want 120. Well, you're taking the piss. And then they'll meet somewhere in the middle. You know what I mean? If there was other people vying for his signature, which I think maybe Bayern may be serious, but ultimately he's going to stay in England for me is Declan Rice.
I don't think Bayern are coming in. I think it's Arsenal. The only ones they're saying are City, and they're worried that City will go, there's Calvin Phillips, we'll give you 90 minutes Calvin Phillips, and then that'll be it, and they'll say, we'll take that then. And Arsenal can just sit and try and count their pennies and try and throw Big Macs in all they want. It ain't going to happen. Do you know what I mean?
See, can I just pick up, like, this is what I'm saying about people disrespecting. Stanley's just said there, Declan Rice is overrated. I don't want Arsenal to sign him. We can get a player for 25 to 30 million that will do the same work or better.
See, I disagree. I don't think anyone is saying Declan Rice ain't good,
exactly.
Man. Declan Rice is top. We're talking top quality here, and I want him at Arsenal. This is why I'm getting frustrated that it's taken so long, and I'm worried that someone's going to come in. Otherwise, I'd be like, we got Rice, it's all good, get the pipe out, it's all happening. No, I can't do that with Arsenal. I did this I've seen too many. Vlahovic, Mudryk, Caicedo twice now. We've missed out on all of these, when apparently they were all absolute dead certs to come to Arsenal. So we have to get this one over the line, man. Sorry, Dave, go on, bro.
The use of the word embarrassing, Dan, is childishly provocative in my view. That is like that plays into what Joe has just rightly said about posturing between businesses and all that. So I think embarrassing is a very poor word to use, and it kind of, it's just insightful. The word embarrassing, though, in my view, is pertinent to this transfer market. I mean, I apologise, Joe, for talking over it. It is my fault. We were the first club to sign a £1 million player, right?
Yeah, Trevor Francis.
It's my fault. Well, it's not my fault. It's the bloke who was having a game of badminton that day coming and clonked Trevor Francis on there. It was my fault, right? So I'm sitting here thinking, will we be sitting here maybe in, I don't know, 5-10 years? Well, you lads will. I'll probably.
I say you want to hope so, Dave.
Yeah. I'm the only Dan. I'm the only bloke, mate, that COVID wouldn't come near because it doesn't want to be near me.
Sorry, mate.
Now, the thing is, when are we going to see a £1 billion player or a £2 billion player? It's ridiculous. And where I get upset is like, you know, Declan Rice is a fantastic footballer. Jude's a fantastic footballer and an unbelievably smart young guy as well. Right? And there's a lot of really good footballers about, but the prices are really silly, and it's a bit. You know, I'm sitting here thinking, can I pay my electricity bill? And there's like 115 million. It's almost like, and like Joe said, I remember buying my first property, and I was like on the phone to the person I was buying it off, who so happened to be on bloody Dartmoor on a walking holiday, and we were literally quoting numbers at each other. And then eventually, I had 3 goes at like offering a number, and eventually Jim, the guy I bought it off, said, "Yeah, all right then." And then I had to ring the estate agent and say, "Have I actually bought that?" And he went, "Yeah." And I said, "All we did was like throw numbers at each other down the phone." And it's getting like that with Arsenal. Where I would be irritated if I was an Arsenal supporter like Dan is, and like a lot of the other Arsenal lads are, like Robbie and Lee, Judges, Albert, all these fantastic Arsenal guys, Kenny Ken. Arsenal have been talking about Declan and Moises Caicedo for so long. And where is their intent to go and get it done? If they got to the point, they got further up the mountain to City than anybody, and they could see the summit, and they know what the distance is. Yeah. Do they want to get it done? And if they're not careful, I agree with Joe. I think Declan will go to Arsenal because at Arsenal, Declan will walk into the captaincy. He'll galvanise the dressing room. He'll go in there. They'll all like him. He's a fantastic. Declan is a personality and a leader that other lads are going to want to play for. Look what he did with West Ham. He galvanised them in that final, right? And
The whole
and
season,
to keep,
Dave. The whole season.
Yeah,
If they didn't
absolutely.
have Declan Rice, they'd have gone down. They would have.
Yeah, and I agree, Dan. I saw my lot at West Ham, and we were all right for a bit, and then we had a 10 minutes where they scored three goals and just took the game away from us, and it all revolved around him. He just dominated Forest on his own. It was like if the other West Ham lads had wandered into the dressing room and said, "Right, Declan, we'll leave it to you," Declan would have beaten Forest on his own. He was that good to me. I was really impressed, right? So I think if Arsenal are serious about going that extra inch, yard, meter, kilometre, whatever it is, go and get him, because I think he wants to be got. Caicedo is a different matter. I think Chelsea will get in. Havertz really frustrates me, because I think there's a fantastic player in there trying to get out. I remember the guy who scored a winning.
Get out of him though, Dave. Do you think Arteta could?
Arteta is more likely to get it out of him than what's been going on at Chelsea. I think he's been really poorly managed. He strikes me, when I see him, as a lad who's like not really enjoying what he's doing, a sensitive soul who needs somebody to go and look after him. He would actually, I tell you where I think he'd really like playing for us, but he's not going to drop down to our.
Oh, Dave, come on, Dave. Come on. Come on.
Just testing you, lads. I thought it's late. These lads might be dropping off. You know what I mean? So Havertz. I mean, he scored a winning goal in the Champions League final against City, so he's got a little bit previous. But to me, he's looked like I saw Chelsea. I mean, really, anybody at Chelsea, Dan's right. They had a shot window. I saw Chelsea at the bridge. They should be hammering us, and they were pathetic. I mean, Raheem was the only guy who played well for them that day, and actually, young Lewis Hall, the left back, played all right. But everybody else, if they were in a shot window, you'd be thinking, no, they'd be in the bar. They played like bargain bin players, So I don't think,
Dave, with Chelsea, and I'd probably be laughed at for this. How the hell are they spending this money and going out this summer and spending more money and nothing being said about it? How is this happening? How are they balancing these books? Because honestly, I just don't.
Bowley must have a bottomless well done. I mean, they're starting to spend money in the same way that like Everton have spent money. Look where Everton are. And I tell you what, the
thing is with Chelsea though is they've got to sell players before they buy them. And they have to sell them before the 30th of June, because otherwise they're going to fail financial fair play. The only transfer window open is
right.
Therefore, Kovacic, one second, Dan, Kovacic, Mount, and now Havertz are going to be going, and then they're going to go and get who they want, Caicedo, blah blah blah, etc. It's mad.
But this falls into our hands, Dan, because the money they're talking, United won't pay 70 million for Mount. No. They won't. And this is the other thing that's irritating me that I think is happening more and more in football now. Since when is a player who has 1 year left on his contract worth so much money?
100%.
When is this become a thing? Because years ago, when a player was on the end of a contract, that team wanted the money and they were gone. Do you know what I mean? I don't understand where this is coming from now.
It has gone
mad.
It really has gone mad. Listen, Pete, before we move quickly, Lavia and Diaby, I mean, there's two players you know well. Diaby's been linked with Newcastle for probably longer than he has at Arsenal, to be fair. And Lavia, we all saw him at Southampton, and I must say, if we weren't to get Caicedo, the only reason I wouldn't have wanted him is because I really wanted Caicedo. He would be probably my number one if we're going to go for not Caicedo now. For you, Pete, would those sort of signings? I'm trying to put a positive spin as a Gooner, obviously. Are you looking at that thinking Arsenal are getting in early here? These are the right names to be linked with. They're the right positions. What are you thinking, Pete?
100%. They're the guys I'd go for. Good value. Got years ahead of them to develop and get better, but are already good enough now to come in and stamp their authority. Moussa Diaby would, in my opinion, would light up the Premier League. He is a super talent.
Hello.
I don't know what happened.
Where did that come from? That wasn't mine.
Whoever did that has thrown me, but that was brilliant.
Someone's ordered an Nando's.
Yeah,
that was class.
Not me. Not me. Like a Hando's, not a Nando's.
Whoever gets Moussa Diaby is getting a super talent. I would absolutely love him at Newcastle United.
Yeah, I bet.
Absolutely love it there. But Yeah, it looks like we're looking in a different direction, which is absolutely fine. Lavia, he's a player that I think he's got a massive future in the game.
Yeah.
Every time I've seen him play, I think I've been impressed with him hugely. Saw him up at St James's when Southampton came. We beat them, but he was there. Him and Carl Walker-Peters are probably their two best performers.
Yeah. Agreed.
Someone so young, he doesn't.
Does City not have first refusal on him still? No,
They do. That's why United aren't looking.
Yeah.
They have first refusal. That is the big. That's the big issue with any team that go in for him, is that they have to go to Man City first. And Man City, for all the players the Declan Rices and all the rest of it for midfield that they're looking at, they could just pluck him back, and I think it's a nominal fee that they're getting back for. I think it's something like say nominal 12, 13 million, something like that. So it's nothing really.
Dan's getting attacked by a wasp.
It's fucking Daddy Longlegs. I'm terrified of him. Sorry.
Right.
Come on, man. Are you kidding me? I
thought it was a wasp
open.
or a hornet or something.
No, Daddy Longlegs.
I thought his missus had got in there.
Are Newcastle serious about Barella, Pete?
I don't know. Do you want to talk about Newcastle?
Well, I was going to.
Sorry.
No, it's good.
Go
It's
for
good,
it.
Joe, because I was looking at this earlier breaking news. Ben Jacobs saying that Newcastle are going to move for James Maddison. Leicester are hoping for a bidding war and want at least 55 million. Newcastle feel circa 40 million is market value because of the contract situation. But I did see, Pete, that you're looking at both him and Barella. Is that for real?
Well, for one, we definitely want Maddison. He has been.
Class,
he has been. We had 2 bids rejected in August for him. Last August, he's Eddie Howe's number 1 target. And I would be surprised if he doesn't sign for Newcastle.
Well, I know Tottenham come in yesterday, 50 million for Barnes and Maddison, mate. You never know.
I'll be honest with you. Well, when I saw that, I just laughed because I thought we had a 45 million bid rejected.
Jokers.
Last summer, and he had
He's only got a year left now, though, right?
He has got a year
Maddison,
left.
yeah.
But what I'm saying is that if we had 45 million rejected last summer and they wanted more, but then how are they going to get some? Like Harvey Barnes has got 2 years left on his contract, and they want 60 million for him alone.
I really like him.
How is 50 million going to get? I just think it was just.
Embarrassing.
Yeah, it was.
West Ham tried it with Rafinha and Calvin at the end of the January window the season before. They tried something like that as well.
Yeah.
We want James Maddison. I just tweeted out on the back of Ben Jacobs' tweet, and I said, there'll be no movement now. There'll be no movement until after Monday, after they played the England games. When the England games are done, for me, at that point, that's when things will start getting worked. And the reason being is because Leicester need the money. Leicester can say they want 60 million, whatever. They have a championship season that they're not prepared for. They've had a load of players that have left on freeze. James Maddison is the biggest. Probably him and Barnes are the 2 biggest players that they can reinvest in with the money that they sell. But they need time to do that. And let's not forget, the championship season starts before the Premier League. So they need to get the money and then reinvest it as quickly as possible. They've just had their new manager announced. He's going to want to get to work now and getting players in. But to do it, they need to sell players. So for me, I would not be surprised that within the next week, whoever he goes to, and I sure hope it's Newcastle, that the deal's close to being wrapped up. Going on to Nicolo Barella, I was as shocked as anybody when I saw that.
Yeah, man.
However,
I saw your Twitter.
I was like, I was shocked as anybody. However, I was also as shocked as anybody when we went to sign Bruno Guimaraes. I was as shocked as anybody when we not just 1 bid rejected, 2 bid rejected, when we just went out and agreed the fee with Alexander Isak last summer. So Newcastle have already proven in the time that they've had the new owners that they can surprise people. Again, he's a player who's just played in the Champions League final. He is a world-class midfielder. And then, as I said to you guys about Declan Rice, those big deals don't happen quickly. If Newcastle get him, it'll probably be late in the window. But we want 2 midfielders. It's already been laid out. We want 2 midfielders. So I think with Dominic Szoboszlai, with Felix Umeka, who we've also been linked with at Wolfsburg, there's a pool of players there that I think we're linked with. And the one thing about Newcastle is that that's what we do. There's a pool of players there, and we'll go, right, okay, who's the right player for us? We can work with all of these because Eddie Howe wants them all, and we'll just go, right, get you. And they'll just pick a player. So I can't put my finger on who it's going to be, Barella, Szoboszlai, Umeka, or somebody else that we don't know about. But what I can say is that they'll get the player that they definitely want. And Maddison is definitely a player that they want.
This 80 million malarkey's crap, Pete, isn't it? This 80
What's
million budget thing, this is absolute rubbish, man.
I read that, yeah.
I've
It's
got my
rubbish.
opinions on it. I've said I'm going to stay quiet on it. I spoke privately to a load of lads. The same happened last season. I kind of know what they're doing, but I'll talk about it later on in the window.
80 million, that's basically James Maddison and Kieran Tierney done, right? Move on. Do you know what I mean? That's basically it. That's your window. Like, this ain't gonna happen, man. It's crazy. It really is. Big up, Goonie, man. What you saying, bruv? You good?
Just back from work. I've not even cleaned up all night. Yeah.
I thought the new Chelsea merchandise looked quite shit then.
I was on some murders when I heard that we're signing this geezer called flipping Nicholas Jackson. Who the hell is this guy?
I
Who
just
the hell
seen
is this
that,
guy?
yeah.
But I'm not saying that. No disrespect to my man. He might be a good player, but flipping hell, there's only 2 Jacksons I know: Michael and Miss Jackson. I don't know about this.
Samuel L. Gooney, get him in.
Yeah,
and I tell you what, Dan could do with them gloves, mate, so he can pick up them daddy long legs. He's in his bedroom, mate. Honestly,
Yeah,
I swear, I thought Dexter was in the house, man. When I saw those gloves, I was like, memories, man.
Yeah, man. Absolutely. You know. Before I come to Goonie, Dan, I was going to come to you with a couple. If you can get your daddy long legs out of the way before
I've shut the window now, so I'm going to start sweating profusely.
A couple for you, Dan. Why aren't United in for Rice? Is it because you've got Casemiro already? Looks like you're going for Mount.
It's because we haven't got any money. We're in the middle of a sale, and the Glazers aren't going to spend money now until we've been sold.
How long is that going to take then? Is that going to affect your window?
Do you know what, mate? Honestly, I don't understand, because the problem we've got is even if it gets done next week, it's still got to be ratified. It's still got to be agreed. They've still got to do the proof of funds. I can see us being a bit like Chelsea last season, it being sort of a dash at the end to get anybody we can in. I can see us going and spend 40 million on Matt Ritchie because we're that bloody desperate. Do you know what I mean? It's ridiculous.
Peter, take that.
Honestly. But the thing is, like, I looked at
Matt Ritchie said I go and get Matt Ritchie for 40 million. As that Peter, take that.
We've just given him a new deal.
I know, I saw that. The worrying thing is Man United, their first friendly is in just under a month against Leeds, funnily enough, in pre-season.
Oh, Joe.
That's not a friendly. That's a war, not a friendly, that.
But the problem is, I don't see Manchester United, unless they get the Mount deal over the line, I don't see us getting anybody in before then. I think it's going to be a long, drawn-out process. We haven't got the money. The Glazers have just done what they've been doing for the past few years.
They don't want to sell, do they? They want to get this Radcliffe on board with them. I'm sure
No,
they don't want to sell it, man. I think they want.
No, I think they've
sell
used
a part of the club to someone and stay. I bet you.
No, I think they've used Jim, Ratty Jim, as I like to call him. I think they've used him. What they've done is they've put the feelers out. Look, we're going to stay now. We're going to sell to Sir Jim because 2 of us can stay. And I think there's been so many people that have said this, and I agree with it. The Qataris don't lose. They when they see something, they go and they go and they go. And look, at the end of the day, Rio Ferdinand said it's happening, so it must be happening. You know what I mean? That clown. Honest to Christ. I'm sick of that bloke. First of all, it was I called Ronaldo and I said, listen, bro, you can't go to City. Bang, he's there. Piss off. You know nothing. You're just taking a stab in the dark. So yeah, I think it's going to be a long, drawn-out process. I don't see Manchester United, other than Mount, potentially. I don't see there being any signings coming in anytime soon. Which is really depressing.
Mate, I've got to bring this one up as well because there was someone in the chat that put this, and I started it because I thought it was interesting. This David De Gea talk, man. Looks like De Gea's on his way. Who would you want, Dan? Costa, Onana, or is it time for Dean Henderson to prove his worth at Man United?
Dean Henderson's done, isn't it? I think he's going to Forest, Dave. I think that's done, isn't it?
Dave, it's a Man United player, bro.
The dream would be Onana, but I think he's off to Chelsea by the looks of it. I mean, I watched him against City, and I adored him. I thought he was absolutely unreal. Played under Ten Hag at Ajax. Gets the way he wants to play, confident. Look, this whole thing about David De Gea is on his way out. A lot of people, put a lot of smoke up today, and it made me laugh. They're saying, "Oh my God, De Gea's not on the retained list. He's gone. He's gone. He's in contract negotiations." I still think he signs, and especially if this sale goes on for as long as it does. There's no way you're telling me they're going to let De Gea go on a free and start the season potentially with Tom Heaton. It's just not. It's not going to happen, and that is not happening. If we sign Pickford, honest to Christ, no, that's not happening.
You know what it is as well, Dan? Like
happening
from a Man United perspective, I guess as well. I know this. Look, David De Gea did just win the Golden Glove, right? And I know he's been poor, but what I'm saying is, like, for Man United, there's areas of the pitch that need more money more urgently. I think,
right, man.
Because of
Defense.
you need
Striker.
a number 9, right?
You
You need a number 9 so you can get by on David De Gea for another season. If you get rid of De Gea, can you get by on your number 9? Well, you can't, can you? You know what I mean? You ain't got one. Do you know what I mean? You've got Weghorst or whatever, and Rashford prefers to play off the left. So I think, look, as bad as he's been, he still did get the Golden Glove. So it's like, okay, we can give him one more season, and then we'll try again for a new keeper.
I think, and that's the logical thing here. Again, a lot of people are putting their energy into. I'm not De Gea's biggest fan. I've said that. I think the way that United want to play it doesn't suit him. We lose a lot more possession with the ball at his feet than we do, with the centre backs or with the left and right back. The problem is, I think we do finish higher up in the league, and I will say this: if we have a number 9 in that team, I think the gap would be a lot closer than maybe not to City, but to Arsenal. The home form was ridiculous, of course it was. You look at the away form. If we'd have turned that round a bit, it could have been it was a good season. We finished third. We FA Cup final. We won the Carabao Cup. By all intents and purposes, it was a great season. But again, I agree with what you're saying. And for me, as much as De Gea isn't up there on my priorities as he has to stay, and I don't really respect. I don't respect him. I respect what he's done for United, but I think times move, and I don't think he's moved with the modern day goalkeeper. I think United have to be looking at going out for that number 9. The fact that we're looking at Mount now, it's ridiculous. United finished the season with half the Martial and Weghorst. We relied heavily on Rashford doing a madness from the left for 3 or 4 months. It's the biggest problem Man United have got. The last thing I want, I've seen United in the last few seasons sign Ighalo, Weghorst. We signed Cavani. Cavani was good, but he was 35 when we signed him. We signed Ronaldo. He was good, but he was 36 when we signed him. We haven't gone out there for such a long time and got a player who is either in his prime or coming up and about to make that crossover to do so. So United's they have to go for a number 9. This whole thing with Mount. Why are we spending
Rasmus Haaland? They reckon because Harry Kane not going anywhere. They reckon he's staying because he's such a loser.
If you believe the papers, though, Dan, they say United want 2 strikers. 2 strikers. We can't get half one at the moment. Do you know what I mean?
I'd go with that for Osimhen.
That's what I'd do if I was United.
Well, the smoke's died down around Osimhen with players, hasn't it? With
it's going to cost
teams
about
going for him.
150 million, though.
Yeah, get him. 100% you're going to get him.
Yeah, you don't look like he's going to move either, man. This is a madness. This window is mad. Let's move to Joe quick. I don't know what's going on at Leeds, bro. You got no boss, but it looks like you're going to get one. don't know what's going on with the board situation and ownership, fam, and I don't know who the hell you're linked with, man. So, how you getting back up to the Prem, bruv? What's gonna happen?
Easy, mate. It's light work. Trust me. Don't worry about it.
Light work.
I think we wanted Rodgers, right? We've been trying to push the envelope on Brendan Rodgers, but it looks like he's going back to Celtic, innit? The 49ers do have big ambitions, though. Obviously, they run the football club now. I think it's probably going to be Daniel Farke, which for me, it's not a bad appointment. Like, he's won the league twice. When he
not Ricky Fowler, Joe. Not Ricky Fowler or Justin Thomas, Jordan Spieth.
Jordan Spieth, this is what I'm saying. The way the 49ers work, it's all about getting people to invest and then they spend their money for them, basically. We've got a couple of basketballers on there as well. Do you know what? From a commercial standpoint, though, it's amazing because obviously Ricky Fowler's speaking at a golf tournament about Leeds United, and then you've got Americans going, "Who's Leeds United?" You know what I mean? And it just goes from there. You know, that's what it's like, though, right? Like we were on I forget which is it, Fox or Peacock TV. Peacock TV. We were on there every week last season because of Jesse Marsh. Do you know what I mean? So it's like. That's where football's going, unfortunately. You know, the Americans are all dipping into it, the Saudis, etc. That's what it's all about now. So, ahead of the curve, if you like. But Daniel Farke, and then we'll see. I think we've brought in this guy Nick Hammond, who oversaw the Newcastle switch with the new ownerships before they got Dan Ashworth in. He's coming to do a similar job at Leeds United. We've got new owners. We're looking at a director of football later on down the line, so he's just going to oversee this transfer window. So we'll wait and see, Dan. It's all about the exits. I don't know if Tyler Adams is going to go. Obviously, I want him to stay. Will he lose his place in the American setup? I'd probably say no, but he's wanted by the likes of Forest, by Villa, by other clubs. He's a top player. Nonto, obviously, I want to stay as well. I don't think he needs to move on, but speaking to an Italian the other day, he seems to think Mancini will be very much saying you've got to be playing in the top leagues in order to get into the Italy setup. So
that's a great signing for someone, that for me.
Nonto's a baller.
He's a top player.
Nonto and Somerville, them two are proper.
Yeah. But this is the thing, for me, them two in the Championship were guaranteed to cut because they would just rip it up. Them two at either side of a new number 9, you know, because Bamford's not the man. But I am sitting here confident at this moment in time, even though we don't have a manager. I have enough, but you know what I'm like. I'm pure vibes, and I do get ahead of myself. But I do think we will return at the first time of asking. So clip it up, man.
Joe does this, man. I remember when you did that. What was that you did with Dor? Will never let you forget. Forest going down, Leeds staying up. I remember that.
Something. Can I just say, being the gentleman I am, I've always said to Dor, you shouldn't do that because I won't stoop to that level, Joe.
Yeah. I seen it. Because you know what, he said some mad stuff, and when he put it on Twitter, on Facebook, on Instagram, I went, "Oh, it's like that, is it, Dor?"
Do you know what, mate? We were in the car. We were in the car coming back from somewhere one day, and we were sat in the back of the car. And he's going, "Right, I'm just going to wind Joe Wayman up," and I was literally going, "Oh no, don't do that. He's a lovely lad. Leave him alone." Do you know what I mean? I was sticking up for you. I was your Uncle Dave, mate. You know what I mean?
It's all part of the game, innit? It's all part.
Yeah, he's a top lad, Dor.
He is,
man. I love Dor. He's a legend. Yeah. Dave, you've got 30 players you bought in the summer. You're going to buy another 30 now for Forest? What's happening?
I've got. I've written in my little book on here, Madge. I've got that there.
Not Rice, Mount.
Because if he can do, him over here can do the Warhol stuff, then I'm going to do it as well.
No, it's because everyone thought I was saying that Rice had a year left on his contract, and I was like, no, I'm not talking about Rice.
Dave, before you go, mate, can I ask you about Chris Wood? I know you've had to sign him permanently.
Yeah.
Are you looking to move him on or what?
Look at Pete.
Are you looking to move him on? Because I'd take him
all I'm going to say is, if it was up to me, right, I'd be moving Mr. Lee Charnley on first.
Oh, thank you.
Because John Joe Shelby is like persona non grata in the City Ground at the moment. What Forest have done, and I'm really happy about it. There's been a few linkages, like Dean Henderson, obviously, because he's been more of a Forest player than a United player, and we want him, right? Tyler Adams has been mentioned. Gnonto has been mentioned. Callum Hudson-Odoi has been mentioned. They're nothing more than mentioned.
The tea lady has been mentioned.
Yeah, been mentioned. Walker Peters. But from what I can gather, the lock is on the City Ground. It's shut up. The lights are off. Nobody's there. They've all gone away. They're having a break. And it's really nice to listen to talk about Manchester United's takeovers, what Leeds are doing, what Newcastle are doing, what Arsenal are doing, what Chelsea are doing, what Tottenham are doing. And for nobody this time around to be talking about us. I got fed up with it last year. We had to sign 30. I said this to you, Dan, but the lower educated people on TalkSport who couldn't leave it alone, people who can barely read or write like Jamie O'Hara and people like that, and Simon Jordan would not leave it alone. How dare they sign Jesse Lingard? And off they went and why are Forest? Who the hell do Nottingham Forest think they are? Nottingham Forest were a club who had to go and buy players because they didn't have any, because there's so many loans, got them out the Championship. Do you know what I mean? So
yeah,
it's
but
really
Dave, how
nice.
bad was that Lingard deal now, though, bro?
Off on the field, very poor. Off it, really good. If I'm going to be nuanced about it, he did a lot of good.
He earned money, man. He's just gone like that.
Now he was that team spirit that kept us up, right? He had a lot to do with that, right? And I feel a little bit for Jesse because he was getting ahead of steam up. He played against Tottenham in the Carabao and dominated him on his own, right? He then played really well against Blackburn in a Carabao. He then got injured at United, got a standing ovation from all four parts of the ground at Old Trafford, and was never the same again after that injury. And Forest then just naturally evolved on from him. So he was kind of left behind. Jesse Lingard has left the City Ground, and he's left a nice odour behind him. He's popular as a person, right? But a lot of the other signings, Awoniyi was the first through the door. How important's he been for us? Near Carty became
White was the one, man. Everyone laughed at that.
And that's why, Dan, I agree. Yeah, and I'll tell you what, Dan, what Pete says about if you want to get your priority deal done, sometimes you have to suffer in order to get it done. Now, with us and Wolves, if I'd have sat here this time last year, exactly to the day in June, right, we're up. Who do we want to sign? Everybody. Every tricky was saying we want Morgan Gibbs-White, right? Based on what he'd done for Sheffield United in the playoffs against it. Every time he played against Forest in that championship season, he was by far the best player on the field. He was better than any of ours. But it was one of our later deals completed in the window. Do you know what I mean? Because Wolves are saying, well, if you want him that much, come on, prove it. And what happened was, I think, from what I can gather, Morgan was ringing Steve Cooper up saying, when are we going to get this deal done? You know what I mean? So the way we are...
By the way, why wasn't he anywhere near the England squad?
Well, you have to ask Gareth Southgate that.
Well deserved. Well deserved.
Yeah. To be honest with you, if you look, Dan raised a point in a show that we did about a month, maybe 6 weeks back, where I think you said, Dan, that the amount of goal involvements between Brennan and Morgan was up with was it Rodri and Grealish,
De Bruyne and Haaland and Saka and Odegaard.
Yeah, and you saw the effect that Morgan has on Forest and that last home game at the City Ground, you know what I mean? Where he picked up on Odegaard's mistake and we scored.
Man. Superb.
So, where we are at the moment, to be honest with you, lads, I would like a window where I come on these shows and I talk about all your clubs and not ours. It would be nice I think we've got the kernel, the core of a decent side, and we just add some quality to it. Not shopping in the wrong part of the supermarket, not getting carried away thinking we're going to buy a 70, 80, 90. That's not Nottingham Forest. I know where we are in the food chain. I've always known where we are in the food chain.
Let me ask you, if I offered you 17th next year, you're going to take it?
Absolutely, mate.
Yeah.
Because, mate, I mean, needs must 17th and bugger all else, right? Anything above that, I'm looking at like maybe 12th, 13th, 14th. I would like us to try and emulate Palace, right? A team that nobody notices. They're in the middle. Nobody notices, apart from Mr. D. Illusion. Nobody notices them, right?
You should be more like Chelsea, bro. 12th ain't a bad place for you lot either. You know what I mean?
Gooney was very aware of your... Yeah, Gooney, I was very aware of your presence, mate. I've never met you before, and I do want to annoy you the first time I met you, mate. So I wasn't going to mention Chelsea. But, I'd like us to be, 12th, 13th, 14th. But the way I look at it, the relegation battle next year is the three that have come up, Forest and Bournemouth, Fulham maybe, and unless, although I would have said Wolves, but Lopetegui's going to stay now, so I think they'll be right. Those six will be the battlers. So yeah, just give me 17th again. Just give me 17th so I can come and talk to you lovely lads on a Friday night. That'll do me.
Absolutely, man.
Honestly,
Absolutely, absolutely. Listen, to close, Goonie, I'm coming to you, man. Like, your football club's starting to piss me off, bro. I can't even lie. Right? I was saying earlier, I went on this rant about how like United and Arsenal are now helping Chelsea out. Yeah, we'll give you 60 million for Havertz and 60 million for Mount. And bro, like, what's actually going on? Like, it looks like Caicedo's coming to you, which pisses me off because I want him. Havertz, like, let's start there.
Hold on. First,
CF, man.
First,
Look at Goonie's face. Look at Goonie.
No. Hold on. I've got to start with something that's not football related. Dave, you're from a very special place, Nottingham. I actually went to university there and had the time of my life. I done law at Nottingham Uni. It was amazing. Love Nottingham Uni. So
Goonie. So I was at Nottingham 1982, 1986 and did a history degree, mate. So we're alumni.
Yeah,
so we're alumni.
Dave, we're a step away from a Bukaki video here, if you carry on.
Now, the thing is, Dan, the brotherhood of the University of Nottingham is as strong as me and Goonie are now related. He's my brother now. Well, maybe my grandson. I don't know. So and on a serious note, Goonie, look at these lot laughing. Bless them. Whatever I say comes out of my mouth, they just piss themselves laughing. But seriously, mate,
he knows.
I just thought he was still wafting away at like butterflies or whatever he was doing in that bedroom. You know what I mean? What he does in his bedroom is his business, not mine. But on a serious note, right. Let me just. Yeah, it's been a tough time for Nottingham this week, Goonie. So thank you very much for the kind words, mate. And I know. And can I also say, so thanks to Goonie, thanks to Dan as well, because when you sent that message to me earlier in the week, mate, I didn't know what you're on about. In fact, I was still in bed. And I got out of bed because I was like really worried about what was going on. You know what I mean? So,
I heard about it early. My mum texted me and said, "Oh, there's something happened in Nottingham. You better check on Dave, see if he's all good." And I text you and make sure he was. And what a horrendous incident, man! But,
and especially, I mean, we lost Ian, who lost his life, was a Forest fan, a season ticket holder, which is dreadfully sad. His lads used to go to the game with him. He never missed a game. Ian Coates, and then obviously Barnaby and Grace were two very beautiful young people who were learning at the University of Nottingham. I don't know whether they were boyfriend or girlfriend, but it was horrendous. So the city of Nottingham this week has been obviously wounded, but beautiful and full of pride. And it's strange because it's been a good season for Nottingham. Forest survived, County came up, Mansfield had a good go at it. Nottingham Panthers have been doing all right. Nottingham cricket has been good. So, So, thanks a lot, Goonie. Appreciate it, mate.
Man. Nottingham, I've always got a special place for them. And obviously, rest in peace to the people that lost their lives.
Man.
We've got to give our respect to that. But, Dan, back to your question. Where did we start? Was it the Silky German? You said.
I'll let you start wherever you want to, bro. You know what I mean, like,
look at him bigger.
I see Lewis. Like, Lewis was giving it to Troops. Like, you know what I mean? Like, Lewis was proper giving it. Troops is like. So
he's not picking up my calls. He knows not to pick up my calls.
Oh, I can't believe this, man.
Okay, if I'm being completely honest with you, neither can I. Like, it just came out of nowhere. Like, Arsenal are interested in Kai Havertz, and I thought that was just it. And then Fabrizio Romano was like, well, they're kind of advancing in their talks, and Havertz is actually open for the move. Now, for me, I'm not going to lie to you. I've got no problem with seeing Kai Havertz leave the club. I've been tired of this guy for the longest. He's done some great things for the club. I'm not going to sit here and be an ingrate about his career because he scored some historical goals for the club. Obviously, Champions League final. I believe either Super Cup or Club World Cup, one of the two as well. He scored in those. So the gratitude is there. But one thing that I do not have is loyalty tax, right? And I know it sounds horrible, but I mean it in the sense of if a player who has contributed so much at one stage in their career at Chelsea Football Club, and they seem to be declining and not really taking us to the places that we want to go, it's time for you to move on. there's no sentiment in football, and a lot of people get that twisted. If you support your club, it's Chelsea, Nottingham, Arsenal, whoever first, then the players come afterwards. So you always got to put the club first. But for Kai, I feel to ask him to lead the line, to continue to lead the line after what, 4 or 5, I don't know how many years he's been at the club. It would just be ludicrous at this point in time. Granted, it's not entirely his fault because he is not a natural number 9. He never has been, but he had been used there, and he's had, and in my opinion, for the hype and the quality that was put around Kai Havertz, he's had enough time to take that quality and show a lot more in that number 9 position, which unfortunately he hasn't. Not entirely his fault because the whole team as a whole over the past 2 seasons haven't really been at full gear, especially this season that's just gone. So there's that. But for him to go to Arsenal, honestly, if you guys can find a position for him consistently, because you've definitely got the midfield behind him that's balanced, you've definitely got some good attackers around him. I don't see why he should. That's what I mean. So I don't see why he shouldn't do well. For me, if he doesn't do well at Arsenal, then I will be 100% convinced that he's not the player that I once thought he was going to become, because I really think this is his best opportunity to turn his Premier League record around, because it's not the greatest at the minute. If you look at the rest of the fan bases, we were all laughed at for having Kai Havertz or bigging him up, but there might still be a player in there. I don't know. I think it is a bit. I still think it's a little bit of a gamble for Chelsea to do that, because if he hits the ground running at Arsenal, then boy, we're in trouble. You know what I mean? But like I said, I'm happy to see him go. The surprising thing for me is the fact that if you guys buy him, it's going to be close to what we bought him for. Apparently, the asking price is 75 M's. I don't think we get 75 M's for him, but apparently Chelsea don't want to drop below 70 million. We paid 72 million for him. So for me, 2 million loss, cool. But with what he's shown over his career, I'd be happy with that price, 100%.
Absolutely. And I think that's ridiculous price for Arsenal, from an Arsenal fan anyway. If we're going to be paying 70 million pounds, I'd rather go get Caicedo for that money. Like, I know it's a different position, but wow, like we need him more for me.
It's a role you need, though. This is what I don't understand. So where did Kai Havertz come from in all
Makes
this?
no sense. I heard today we wanted to go for Mount, but Mount's got his heart set on Man United. So now we've just gone to Havertz. But for me, like I said, Joe made a great point earlier. This obsession with Arsenal and Chelsea has got to stop, man. Like this is getting mad. Like we miss out. We just come out of this so bad all the time. Willian, David Luiz, Petr Cech. I'm sick of it, man. Like we give you Ashley Cole. Do you know what I mean? Like, come on, give us one of your good players at least, man. I just had enough of it, bro. But what's going on? Because obviously Todd Bowley is a madman. You seem to be just selling everybody and then being left with no team. It means you're going to go nuts again, surely.
Well, Todd Bowley, first of all, he's taken a big step back, and he's allowing the actual recruitment team at the club that he hired to do their job. So that, for me, is one of the best pieces of news in the summer. Now, in terms of all these players going out of the door, like before this summer even came, if you watch my channel, I listed about over 10 to 15 players that need to just get out of Chelsea Football Club, and I don't care where they go. So with them pushing them out, for me, it shows that they're going in the right direction, because a lot of them have overachieved. When you look at this Chelsea club, you're right over there, Joe.
I think it's Dave.
Dave. Or someone. I don't know what's going on.
That's me with the sound, bro. No.
M25 motorbike. That's what it is.
M25. I thought we was being invaded, bruv. That sounded.
No. I was just gasping for breath. Sorry.
Dave's in his cab. He's a truck driver.
I've got a big Yorkie here on the table with me, mate. Yeah.
No, but with Chelsea, I very much agree with the rebuild, but. And the players that are going out, because one thing that I've had a massive issue with is the fact that, yes, we've got several top seniors, but not one of them have been a proper leader at Chelsea Football Club. Now, I know a lot of you are saying, hold on a second, as Piliqueta, he's been captain. Yes, he's done very well. But there was also, in his most successful time, there was also a nucleus around him that had, leaders in that squad as well. But when they all left, right, and me, obviously, I was Chelsea week in, week out. Anytime we meet some kind of adversity, every single player, including the captain, has their head down. There's nobody there to galvanize the squad. And then on top of that, we're bringing in more youngsters. If you do not bring a leader that they can look up to respect, somebody who has been there and done it, you might run into problems. You might underachieve. You might spend a lot of money and not win nothing. That's really what my concern is for this window. But in terms of the players going out, I'm happy. We're looking to address the goalkeeper situation. We've needed to do that for the longest. We're looking to address the DM situation or number 6 situation, hence Caicedo. We've needed to do that. But I'm going to throw a caveat in there as well. Caicedo as a sole number 6 this summer will still be a failure in terms of expectations. You cannot ride on Caicedo by himself as the only number 6 at Chelsea. Let me give you an example why. There's a brother that just went to Saudi Arabia and just got the bag. His name's N'Golo Kante. We shortened that man's career because we never had a backup for him. I do not want the same thing to happen to Caicedo, which is why for me, it can't just be one number 6. It's got to be 2. In terms of the strikers, we need a striker. This Jackson brother, I don't know nothing about him. I don't know anything about him. He might come and hit the ground running, or he might come and flop. But Chelsea are making a serious gamble here if he's going to be our only striker signing, because outside of him, we've got Breuer, who's coming back from a very serious injury that left him out for the whole entire season. We don't know how he's going to be coming back. And outside of that, Kai Havertz is going to be leaving. Lukaku don't want to come back to play for Chelsea, and we don't want him to come back anyway. So basically, we are left with one striker and another one that's got a massive question mark over him. Pre-injury, I rated Breuer. I love the player. And he's got bags of talent. But with an injury like that, you can never account for it and say, he's going to come back the same player. You can't do that. So we have to wait and see with that. Quite disappointed that we're not. I know Osimhen is going to cost a lot of money, but we're in a situation where Vlahovic, for me, he's had a bit of a rocky season. That's my only thing. And he's got this issue with his groin that's reoccurring, and that worries me because we cannot be signing strikers or any kind of player that are injury prone. We have terrible luck with injuries at Chelsea. I don't want to see that. But with Vlahovic, especially during his Fiorentina times, I saw the potential of an elite striker there. So if Chelsea do take that gamble, I will understand it. But yet again, I still feel it's a gamble because there's also the Serie A tax. Because how many of you can really name me a striker that's come from Serie A to England and has absolutely smashed it season in, season out? You don't really find them, do you?
Crespo, did he?
Crespo's an exception to the rule. Crespo was just a bad boy. Do you know what I mean?
He was.
Shevchenko. Did he come from Serie A to Chelsea?
That's another one. Yeah, he came from AC. But these strikers, Crespos and Shevchenkos, these are generational elite strikers, in my honest opinion. Those guys would
as well, though, did they? Crespo, they didn't hit the heights of what they did.
And remember, they came towards the tail end of their careers as well.
Both were loaned back, weren't they? Both were loaned back to their clubs as well.
That's it. So
they were lights of former years when they arrived, weren't they? Really.
Yeah, that's it.
But Gooney, to answer your question, no, none really leap out of the imagination, do they? You know what I mean?
No.
Yeah, so that's my concern.
Gooney, this Jackson guy, 21, he's got 26 games, 12 goals, 4 assists, 21 years old, Villarreal. It's not dreadful, man.
Yeah, but
I don't know nothing about him.
The season before that, so I'm seeing he was in the 3rd tier of the Spanish division or whatever. So when we're talking about playing at the highest level, he doesn't really have that much experience. And you're coming to a club where the expectation from the fans is we want to win stuff. Do you know what I mean? And for any team to win anything, you need at least a striker or one of your attackers to be hitting either 20 or over or close to that. Can I really put that pressure on a young man that's just played one season at the highest level, not even played Champions League yet either, by the way, right? Can I really trust that? I don't know. I just have to trust the scouts. That's where I'm left with. But, man, for me, just to really sum up, as good as the incomings that I'm hearing are, for me, the key thing is the outgoings. I am more concerned about players going. 31 players in this squad. We are overfilled. And as well, there's players there that are taking up spaces that either young players can take or better players that we can sign can come and take. We need to be ruthless this summer. I hope the recruitment team are going to do so. And I hope Todd Bowley and Eghbali do not block their decisions because they need to remember those two are very good businessmen. They know how to make money. That's why they're billionaires. But leave the football brain to the people that you recruited for football advice. That's all I ask for.
Yeah, Quite right.
Yeah, man. I mean, listen, this like fire sale at Chelsea, man. Listen, they've got like Chilwell, James, Badiashile, Enzo, maybe Sterling. The rest can
Koulibaly.
go. It's mad. Like literally, the rest are
Can we have Hudson-Odoi?
You can have him. You can have him.
Can we have Ruben as well, Cooney? I'd love them to at
You
Forest.
can,
They'd be
listen,
ideal for us.
you can take up to 15 players from Chelsea.
I was going to say,
It's Nottingham Forest, they will.
do you think do you genuinely think, Dini, that one of Kukurea or Chilwell might go? Because we're looking for a left back.
Now, in terms of who's more likely to leave, not saying that would happen, it would be Chilwell for the pure fact that we just signed Cucurella last season for 60 M's. I highly doubt Chelsea are going to take the L now and try and sell him, because we're not going to get nothing close to 60 M's if we sell him now. Probably get half that because he's had a dreadful season, as most of our players.
What do you reckon you get for Chilwell?
Now, Chilwell, because of the accolades that he comes with, I think
Is it 50?
injuries. 50 million you signed him for, wasn't it?
I think we'd get, I don't know if we'd get the 50, but I think we'd get close to him. But I think the only way we would get 50 or above that is if we sell to a direct rival when they're willing to pay that money. And there's that English tax as well. Do you know what I mean? English players, they go for a premium because of the homegrown status, as you lot know. But I don't see us selling him.
Pete, I've got you, mate. I've got you sorted, brother. Alex Telles, Europa League winning left back. You can have him for 5 million, mate. Done.
Not a
Done.
chance.
Have him.
Not a
Pete,
chance.
go and get Renan Lodi from Atletico Madrid, mate. I heard that Newcastle were looking at Renan Lodi after the way he got better for us as the season went on.
Yeah, there's been a few links with him. To be fair, we were going to sign him before we got Target in the summer. We were heavily linked with him, and then he obviously went to you after we got Target. But for me, Ben Chilwell.
Pete, would you rather have Tierney or Chilwell? Who would you rather have?
Honestly,
both injured, both good.
Honestly, personally, I'd have Chilwell. I think Chilwell's quality.
He is, and he's also
the attacking fullback that we need.
He's devastating going forward. He's got a brilliant shooting technique as well for a fullback, which is funny because I'm convinced that he watched Marcus Alonso a lot. Now, I never liked Marcus Alonso as a player at Chelsea, like in terms of long-term stay at the club. But one thing that I would give to that guy is he was one of the most naturally, technically gifted players at Chelsea Football Club. That left foot was very dangerous, and when he got in the box, he was clinical as anything when he wanted to be. And I think Ben Chilwell got a lot of that from him, because even when you watch him down to his shooting technique, mirrors Marcus Alonso exactly. Very, very good. So that's one thing that he left that was decent. But Chilwell, injury prone. I don't see him playing. Also, with leaving, I also see, because we're also selling a lot of other English players, quite likely, like Dave mentioned. Callum Hudson-Odoi is looking to be out the door. Ruben Loftus-Cheek's looking to be out the door. Mason Mount's looking to be out the door. Trevor Chalobah potentially could be going out the door. Conor Gallagher could be going out the door. Now that's 5 homegrown players that we've got. We have to retain some English players.
Well, you got because you got that young Hall who looks a proper player. He's really going to go into the season with 3 left backs.
Can I ask a question about that, Aguni? Because United have fallen foul of this several times. When we've had a bad season, a young player's come through that everyone thought was going to be world class. Januzaj was one. Who's the other guy? Bloody hell, what's his name? Dortmund are after him. I can't remember his name. Elanga was another one. We brought these. We were doing all.
Makeda.
Hey mate, that goal against Villa, mate. Unreal.
Won you guys the league. Yeah, fair play to him.
Unreal.
They started calling him the next Cantona, and he ended up at Doncaster 2 seasons ago.
Hey mate, he's got Panathinaikos, mate. He's got Panathinaikos now. Give the boys flowers. But seriously, Gooney, does Hall fit? Are you worried that he falls in that sort of thing where it was a terrible season, and because a young lad comes in with passion and just everything, will he? Is the Chelsea look that he will go on and achieve anything at Chelsea?
It's hard to answer because for several reasons. The first one being is that we've only had this new ownership and this new structure for a year, so it's very premature to say. I don't know their patterns just yet. But I can only go by what I've personally seen from him this season. The most interesting thing is that most of you lot, I'm sure some of you may know or may not, he's naturally a centre midfielder. He's not even a left back naturally, but he's performed. So for me, that goes to show that if you ask him to do a task, he's always going to give his 100%. Because I don't remember this kid having a bad game. Honestly, I would keep him. Whether he will nail down that, starting left back place at Chelsea, it's a big fucking ask. Any position on the pitch is hard to lock down at Chelsea. But I can imagine with him next season, I can see him potentially being loaned out. Because remember, we don't only have 3 left backs, we've got 4. We've got Ian Matson, we've got him, we've got Cucurella, and we've got Chilwell. So one of them either has to be sold or loaned. We can't have 4 left backs. It just doesn't make no sense. So I would like to see, it would be better for him if he could play week in, week out. I would be a fan of that. If he went to like a Brighton or something and was able to play, games there, I think that would be a great move for him. But I don't think he's going to start over Estupinian, who had a great season as well. So we got to see where he's going to go. Yeah, we got to see what happens with him. But definitely talented. Robbed of so many assists as well this season.
One thing
looked a good lad when I saw him, Goonie.
He is good.
One thing that we all know is that you're going to be the busiest team yet again in terms of outgoings and incomings, man, because you're selling that many players. You're going to have to bring a lot in, man. That's for sure, under Pochettino. Listen, we are going to close, but I've got one question as we go around, literally one name. I will start. One name that I would like to see coming in at your football club. Obviously, I'm going to go Declan Rice. Goonie, let's come to you, man. Seeing as you've got about 40 you want to sign. Who would you like to see in, man?
Does it have to be a realistic signing, or could it just? Well, make it realistic. Yeah, let's make it a realistic signing. For Chelsea right now, well, we haven't got him through the door yet. It's got to be Caicedo. Got to be Caicedo. He ticks all the boxes. We need him. We need a DM. He's been quality for several seasons. He's young and he matches the model. Bring him to the club.
Man, Rice and Caicedo, fair play. Pete, I think I know who you're going for, but go on.
Well, I thought Greedy was going to say Mrs. Jackson then. Of course, he's been heavily linked with us, James Maddison, of course. I think that would really kick off our window, getting him in. So the sooner the better.
I think that'll be a quality signing, if I'm honest. I really like the player a lot. Joe? You're on mute. You're on mute, man.
You're on mute, geezer.
You're on mute.
Say it, man. I said this is embarrassing. You're all talking about top players in the Premier League. I like Victor Gyökeres, Gyökeres.
Coventry.
Yeah,
Proper play. Him and Harmer are proper players, them two.
Yeah,
Harmer as well.
I think the Victor will go Premier League or Sporting Lisbon have been linked. So with that in mind,
Wolves have been linked as well.
Gus Hamer. I'd take Gus Hamer.
I think that's a great shout, to be fair, man. I think he's been class. Both of them for Coventry, man. Pretty much put them where they were. Dan, about United.
Well, we're talking realistic. We'll have fucking Vedcourse back, I should imagine, at the moment. We're talking realistic. Let's not. Oh Christ! Look, the way that the transfer window is going, for me, I would absolutely love Harry Kane at Manchester United. Everything that we missed last season, it has to. For me, Harry Kane all day long.
Fair play. Dave, what about yourself? This will be interesting. Where you see Forest need to strengthen in terms of one player, if you could have one, man, who would you go for?
Well, my first order of business is to get Dean Henderson through the door. We need a goalkeeper because obviously Keylor Navas has gone, and Dean was such a part of our kind of social scene. Even after his injury, I mean, he was really good for us, before he got his injury, and then he was a brilliant team guy. Anybody saying, that day against Arsenal or the week later at Palace, that guy's a Manchester United player, they said, don't be silly. So I want Dean through the door. Apparently, Steve Cooper's been talking to Janet Jackson, so I don't know how that's going. So I'll have to let you know. You know what I mean? Or was it Samuel L. Jackson or Latoya Jackson? So I don't know. Probably, I think our midfield 5 might be actually, the Jackson 5. So we'll see. So.
The amount of players you
ABC. ABC.
That's how your transfer window goes, mate. You just go through the alphabet of players. That's how.
Do you know what I want? Just for you, Dan, I'm going to ring the City Ground and say, Steve, Just annoyed Dan from United. Don't sign anybody, mate. So he's got no leg to stand on. No daddy legs, daddy long leg to stand on.
You'll be on the in the same boat as us, mate. Honestly.
Yeah. No, Justine Henderson, mate.
That's fair, man. It's early days, man, of course, but I always
Yeah.
like doing stuff like that. Listen, big up everybody in the chat. Make sure you're smashing likes. Make sure you subscribe. Let's get me up to 9K, please. My next target. Pete, always a pleasure, mate. How can people follow you, bruv?
Yeah, you can see my Twitter handle there, and right next to it is our YouTube channel, Loaded Bag NUFC, 300 away from 6K, moving nicely up there. If you didn't catch anything on Loaded Mag NUFC, check out the show we did last night, transfer show, some little snippets there of certain players that we're looking at, and a great chat with a few of the journalists that are close to Newcastle. So yeah, come and check us out.
Great channel.
Pete.
Dave,
Always,
have you ever
man.
thought about parking your truck in an Asda at this time of night? You won't get any traffic.
When I've finished here, I've got to go deliver some parcels. So I'm just running the engine now before I get in. Either that or I'm doing a getaway, mate. Is it really that loud?
It is loud.
I'll tell you what I'll do. I'll sell this flat and go buy a shed in the middle of a field. All right.
Yeah, deal, man, deal. Joe, likewise, man. Always a pleasure having you on, brother.
Yeah, cheers, man. Just your football show. Yeah, Leeds Championship EFL. Here we go. That's where I'm at.
Man.
He'll be back.
Yeah.
Dan, United, new channel, United First.
Yes, mate. Yeah, United First. I've been actually doing videos this week in prep to release them. So lots of stuff happening, getting ready for the pre-season. At the moment, all my content is on TikTok. Dave, you need to get on TikTok, mate. It's a brave new world for us oldies, I'm telling you. Brave new world.
My niece, who's 12, got Uncle David to go on it, and I went on it, and it just seemed to be like cleavages and all this kind of stuff. So I got a bit bored with it. You know what I mean? It was like
exactly that's what I'm doing, mate. That's what I'm doing.
Do you know what, Potsy? It's not the first time you've invited Samantha Fox on here, because honestly, those are moves beyond my belief.
Mate, some of the chat are like Samantha Fox. Who?
Like I said to you, I'm the only one on this channel who's like been alive. Well, before England won a trophy, so I've seen England win a trophy. I'm the only one.
Big up, Dave.
Old grandpa.
Make sure you go follow United First. Make sure you go and follow Dave Asprey as well on socials. You'll see him on Doors channel too quite a lot, and you'll obviously see him on here too. Goonie, what you got coming up, bro? How can people follow your content, brother?
Man Knows Football is where you'll find me on YouTube. I've just had a bit of a change in schedule, so I'll be doing early morning or late nights. There will be transfer shows coming up. I've got some very good journalists who do their homework and who talk to people. So hopefully we can get some good information from them. Also as well, I should have an interview scheduled with Mark Robbins soon over the next few weeks. So make sure you tune into that. You know what I mean? And one thing I said I was going to do is I have to big up Mackay Holder, who is in the Coventry Youth Academy. His son, he's one of my good friend's son, and he has been touted as one of the top talents at that age group there. So there's your big up, Mackay. I know you're watching this. Love, keep up the hard work as well, man, because although they're telling you that you're very good, there's still a lot more work to do. You got to stay on top, my bro. You understand? So
just remember when teams are coming in for you, black and white, Newcastle United.
Well, he already rejected United, Arsenal, Crystal Palace, because his dad wanted to keep him in Coventry because his family support base there is really good. So they just felt he's still very young. There's no need to move him on now. So he's got. And
Mark Robbins is an excellent manager. Will help him a lot. I tell you what, Mark Robbins' class after that playoff final defeat was absolutely dynamite.
Yeah, top manager him.
Superb manager, Mark Robbins is.
Yeah, fair play, man. Big up, Goonie. Big up all of you for coming on. Make sure you're smashing a like on your way out, people. We'll be back tomorrow. I'm sure we've got more content planned while this crazy window continues. And we'll be back very, very soon. Until then, take it easy and up the Arsenal. Latest, people.
South.